Hi and welcome back. In this section we're looking at errors in Python. Python has got a long history with errors, and errors are really useful. And especially the way they're used in Python, as we're going to see throughout this section, makes errors powerful and they make your code very readable. So in this section, we're going to look at errors, how you can use them, how you can create them, how you can deal with them. At the start, nobody likes errors. Let's say we've got something like this line here. Print my variable. Now notice how I've not created my variable before, and this editor already shows me a small cross sign there that it's undefined variable, my variable. But let's say we didn't have that hint there. Python hasn't ran yet, so this code is perfectly reasonable in terms of its syntax. We're printing some variable that Python doesn't know whether it exists or not until the point that it runs. So what will happen when we run this? What type of error will we get? Well, we will get a name error. As you can see up here, we get a traceback. We're going to look at exactly what those are. And then it tells us in file Python in line 1. And at the end it says a name error, and then it gives you a small description of the error. The name my variable is not defined. It's great to receive this error, as opposed to some other error, because once you know what it means, you can easily find the source of the problem. You can say, okay, my variable is not defined, so I must have used my variable somewhere, and it wasn't defined when I used it, and it tells you where that problem was, which is line 1, so all you have to do is go to line 1, find my variable and say, okay, why does it not exist at this point? And of course the reason is because we've not defined it above, and we can do that, equals 1, 2, 3, and then we can rerun this, and now this all works. It would be much worse if instead of a name error with a nice description, you just got an arbitrary, error. I'm running this to get the error again, and notice how it tells you where it is, and the name of the error and a description. If you didn't get any of this, it would be hours. It would take you hours or possibly days to find a simple error like this one in a large application. Remember, large applications, commercial applications, have tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of lines of code. So if you got something that said, error, an error has occurred, and that's all the info it gave you, you would struggle. So the name of the error, name error, is really useful, but even more useful is the traceback. This is also called a stack trace in many languages. Traceback is stack trace, more or less the same thing. And what it tells you is where the error happened. And because we're running this file directly, it says it happened in this file. Now, this editor is an online editor, so we don't actually have a file, but it seems that the file is called Python or something like that. It tells you where it happened and so forth. So this traceback is a pretty simple traceback that has one line, and then it tells you where your error happened. Let's look at a slightly more complex traceback, which has more than a single line, and I'll explain what's happening in a larger traceback. It's really important for you to be able to read these tracebacks to understand what they mean so that you can solve your own errors. Here we've got a slightly more complex traceback. This time the traceback has 4 different lines. Now it's really important that at the very bottom of the traceback, you're still getting the same thing that you got in the previous traceback. You've got the name, which is, in this case, it's a type error. And then you've got a small description, and it says list indices must be integers or slices, not string. And then as you go up, it gives you information of where the error happened. Now, we're going to talk about this stack trace right now. So let's give you a quick description on what is going on. So, at the very bottom, it gives you the error that was raised and a description as we've just seen. In this case, it's a type